Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Megaman ZX Advent. In the last part, we took care of Headshock's level, I think, and got ourselves that initialization key. And with that, only one level of the final three main levels remains, and, well, here we are. It really stinks down here. This is no ordinary sewage. Is it coming from inside? Us biomammals don't really have a sense of smell. I'm kinda glad I'm not you right now. That's no fair. Anyway, the smell is foul. Let's have a look inside. The Biolab is interesting in that it's partially water-based, but partially not. You end up using more than just, like, water transformations here, because you can use Thetis or Headshock underwater even to get through some one-tile high passageways. The weirdest thing about it is it's partially another level where getting the feather chip early on in the game really comes in handy, because there's going to be some stuff you can sink into later on. The thing I need to warn you about in this level, though, is, if you look on the map, you can even see it, the boss of the stage is in Biolab 3. Biolab 4 is just for some side quest stuff, and we'll be doing that, of course. Biolab 2, in particular, is a very long screen with no checkpoints. So be very careful once you reach Biolab 2, because it's a very long stage section, and if you die in it, you have to start it all over again. Thinking about it, it is a little weird, though, that two of the three stages in this last normal section before the end game technically starts up are different lengths than the earlier stages in the game. Like, the only stages outside of these two that are not 4 sections long in some regard to the boss fight are the tutorial stages, for one, and the train stage. The smell must have been coming from here. It's industrial sewage. With this equipment, this is obviously not just a ruin. Let's go in and find out what this place really is. So this blue goop here, you can't exactly see it because of my body chip setup, but you do sink down into it. It's meant to not exactly be the kind of junk that there was back in the scrapyard stage that you sink into. It's more closely meant to be something to slow you down, because you don't have to actively... I don't think there's any cases of that where you'll just fall into it and get crushed. With that said, we need to use Queen Bee a couple times in this stage, and one thing we want to do is A-Trains back on top of that platform and sink it back down, because we want to get the water in this section below us to a very specific altitude. Why? Well, I think you can tell why. Our final biometal up is in this stage, and once we get it, we are a fully upgraded, barring some body chips, Megaman Model A / whatever A-Train's ability you're gonna be. In some ways, I will admit, though, this game does have a bit of the Zelda problem, in that if you're just mainlining the game, not going for all the secret discs or even some of the side quests, you do very much stop using a lot of your A-transformations throughout the game. Admittedly, in almost the exact same kind of phases that the game unlocks in. Like, you don't really use Buckfire after the first set of stages unless you're getting really experimental with platforming. Chrono Force is the only one that's, like, super useful throughout the entire game. The others are very, alright, here's this one platforming section that you want to worry about kind of deals. And I feel that was just kind of something that this game was bound to have happen with the amount of transformations they wanted to give you, compared to at least the original ZX. Because what was in the original ZX? It was just normal X for the sections you have it until you unlock it again on, like, the third playthrough or something like that. ZX, and then the 4 Guardian transformations, and then if you unlock it, Model O. So that's, what, like 6 power-ups total. By and large, only really 5 that you're using a lot throughout the game, so there can be a lot more focus with what you use. It is the risk you run. Also, this green goop on me is only in this section of the game, if memory serves, unless it's in, like, one portion of the final stage I just don't show off. You need to rapidly mash buttons to get it off you, and when it's on you, you move a lot slower and you don't jump nearly as high. It's kind of annoying, but oh well. I do kind of find it interesting, though, that in this stage, they drop galleon heads into the blue goop, and they surround themselves like they're the one sort of devil mini-boss from, I think it was like Area 8 or something in ZX. The one volcano level. I think it was the Flammo level. I say I think because it's been a while since I played ZX. There are a lot of games I haven't touched since I have done their LPs, what it comes down to in a lot of cases. Also, that's the thing you can do in this that's back from the original ZX. You can slash larger power-ups to break them into smaller ones in the case you don't need what the main power-up is. So say your sub-tanks are all full and a large health pickup drops, which you need like biometal energy or energy crystals, you can just slash the health pickup and it might drop it. You can do that, I believe, with the medium and large ones. It's sometimes useful, sometimes not. With that said, let's see what kind of pseudoroid we're up against this time. Whoa, that's big.
A big mechanoloid? And there are more inside.
Are you surprised? These soldiers were all born here. They're to be used one day by the Megaman King.
Albert thought about all of this?
My name is Bifrost, guardian of the sleeping soldiers. When the new world is born, they shall awaken and exterminate the old world inhabitants. But for now, Mega Man Model A, I shall exterminate you. I shall crush every last one of your bones with my jaws.
Bifrost is a big guy and he uses that size effectively. Some of his attacks are just him jumping or turning around because his tail can swipe you and do damage. The big attacks he's going to be using is a giant bite which you can use to destroy the ice blocks you're building. An ice thing he can jump on to make some scattered ice things just jump all over the room. He can send wheels that are more or less Nitroman's wheels right out of Mega Man 10 that'll climb the walls. And the only other attack he has outside of that is he can open wide, and when he's not jumping down on you, use his teeth not only as a weapon on their own, but shoot them out at you at various altitudes. This is the only fight in the game I really find elemental weaknesses come into play a lot, because both Buckfire and Queen Bee are good for this fight. Queen Bee especially because you could just stay so high in the sky you don't need to worry about him touching you, barring maybe using his jump attacks. Just use her charge shot, and as you can see, it melts him down surprisingly quickly. Plus, you get to see that fire attacks do a little bit of lingering damage, as you saw that did 1 extra damage right there. Not a very hard fight, but a fun one, I find.
Am I the one being exterminated? Is it you who shall bring about the new world, and not we? It is you, after all! Ah!
And we've now copied Bifrost's data. I find him to be the most situational in the game because he's only really useful for one major thing, and I think you figured out what it's about to be. Up ahead, I remember those. Those little blocks we couldn't break no matter how hard we tried. We might be able to use Bifrost's jaws to do the trick. One of the attack buttons activates a spinning blade. Crocodile. That's such a weird name. And the other attack button fires the Ice Fang. To fire the Ice Fang, hold down the other attack button. When you release it, you can bite and destroy things. In your path. There are 2 hidden moves that Bifrost can perform that aren't shown on the profile screen. One is the Stamp Squash, and the other is the Tail Assault. They take skill to master, but when you do, you can go on a rampage. So, Model A just described everything that Bifrost can do pretty well. You have the giant bite that you can use to destroy these blocks, you can send the spinning wheels out, and you can jump on enemies or turn around to damage them. Theoretically, if the game had more straightaways remaining, at least in the stages that are left in the game, depending on the order you go through these stages, Bifrost could be really useful, but because of his slow speed and how little the game is left by the time you usually get him, he's more or less just used for side quests, I find. That's strange, this tran server isn't on. Currently in standby mode. Insert initialization key to resume. Is this the transfer that Thomas was talking about? Yeah, I'll use the initialization key. Initialization key verified. Coordinate data verified. Switching to active mode. Yes, it worked! I suspect Albert's hideout will be at the transfer destination. Let's make sure we do this right. If you try to activate that transfer again before turning in your mission data, by the way, they don't allow you to transport. You need to come over here and support the mission report and finish off this quest line, technically. But before we do that, we want to head back to Hunter's Camp, because now that we've taken care of all 3 of the final Pseudoroids in the game, if you look at the bottom screen, you can see our transformation screen's filled, so we've done everything. Most of the rest of the side quests in the game are now available, including the 8 up here. These guys, frankly, are what allow you to challenge the boss fights again. There's a couple reasons you want to do this. One, for every single one you beat, I believe you can turn your cards back into ward in the bar for 100 energy crystals. So if you need energy crystals for anything, this is the best way to grind it up. I can't believe this. My father gave me that pendant for my 5th birthday. To have it stolen by some mechanoid. It's unforgivable. Took off toward that sewage over there. I just know that I went into one of those strange-looking buildings. You aren't going to just stand there, are you? You're going to get my pendant back, right? Sure. Why not? Why not? That strange-looking building is called the Biolab. It's definitely in there. Get back my pendant from that mechanoid. Alright. Thank you for interrupting me. The other reason you want to refight the bosses is for these medals we've gotten thus far. The gold from Headshock, the silver from Queen Bee, and the bronze from Bifrost. I'll talk more in depth about what they are when we actively go for all of them, but like I've foreshadowed briefly, you get them for beating each of the Pseudoroids in the game, fulfilling certain criteria. They're not necessary for 100% completion. In fact, they're just there for bragging rights and unlocking one very cool but not very useful thing. But I'll be talking more about that when I do that, because we got a lot of side quests left to do in the game, and honestly, there's so many minor things to talk about with getting the medals. I'm just going to be saving it for while I'm refighting Buckfire, just to show off how the refights work. With that said, to get the pendant for her, we need to come over here to Biolab 4, Headshock through there, and come into this room. This room's kind of a weird spin-off the firing range that we did at the very start of the game, in that we have a bunch of these eye enemies, but every now and then a very fast enemy is going to go across the top of the screen. That's what we need to take out. I think it spawns every certain amount of kills you get here, but this room's also really good for filling up your energy tanks, or your sub-tanks rather, if you don't want to pay the energy crystals for it. Also a pretty good way to grind for energy crystals, period, because of how fast things die here. With that said, I forget if these enemies stop spawning the moment you turn in this quest, so if you want to get any energy crystals and potentially grind them out here now, because it might be faster than doing the boss refights. It might be, is the keyword there. Yeah, once you take care of that, it drops the pendant, and now I can take this back over to her. There is notably a little bit of a maze here in this room that you're supposed to navigate with Headshock. I believe all that's in it is maybe 1 or 2 secret discs, and I think you need to climb back up to the top 1 or 2 times to get everything in here anyway. Personally, since I don't care about the secret discs, because they don't give you anything for getting all of them, I'm not going to bother. Very Morph Ball Tunnel, though, right out of Metroid, which is weird to see in a game like this. Also, something I don't think I've talked about yet. A slight annoyance with moving around in this game. You can't teleport from a trans server to a trans server. You can only teleport from a trans server to a warp point. The main reason I'm bringing that up now is because we're going to be needing to transport around a lot coming up. Did you really find my pendant? Well, show it to me already. Huh, that's it, that's it. What a relief. Without that, what, don't just stand there looking at me like that. Okay, take this. That's not a bad payout for that much effort. You should consider it an honor to receive something from moi. You're not Miss Piggy. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 16, now that we've finished up all the main Pseudoroid levels, we're going to honestly probably screw off doing a lot more side quests, if I recall correctly, before heading off to do the second to last stage. See you guys then.